With the first pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select
Trophy Chase, Arizona.
With the second pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select
Cody Smith, Houston, Texas. The fantasy draft room is now on the clock.
Welcome to the fantasy draft room. I am Chase. With me, as always, my man Cody. What is happening tonight?
Man, it's been a night. We're trying to fix the facial hair up a little bit, and that didn't really work out. So it's a brand new me. It's a brand new year of the draft. We got all of the results out, and I think this is the first time we're coming to y'all after the draft happened. So we've got a bunch to talk about, but ain't no better way to talk about the draft than just do a back and forth mock. That's what we're here for. That's the dynasty analysis that we're here for, the super flex stuff that we're here for. If you want that one QB stuff, I mean, maybe we'll do one eventually, probably not, but we're here for that super flex dynasty fantasy football content. And what better way to talk about everything that happened this last weekend than doing a back and forth 4-round rookie mock draft for y'all tonight.
Yeah, so please make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a ton. And for our reactions to the draft itself, we did do a full hour and 20-minute podcast on Destination Devy Radio. Make sure you check out the Overreaction podcast. We drop every Wednesday, so we will. I guess you'll hear that yesterday by the time you're actually watching this. So yeah, there's
if you haven't yet though, go back.
Yeah, if you haven't yet, yeah. Make sure you go listen to it again though. We want to get those numbers up, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, our full reaction, full breakdown of kind of looking at the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end positions. We will do more of that too on this channel, but we definitely didn't want to do the same thing twice. So we want to get into a back and forth mock here and kind of break down some of these players, where some of these landing spots are. The draft itself changed this entire class like drastically, and I can't really, I still don't have words for it really.
I know we talked about it on the pod, but legitimately all of the work that we did for like 3 months before this, like it's useful still, right? Like
Yes.
It's definitely useful, all of the work that we did. And now we have a brand new mold of things that we had nothing in store for. So we've got to morph what we had. We got to build it anew, and we got to try to apply it for what the set in stone foundation is for the rest of this offseason. We've got to try to figure out what we're doing in our rookie mocks. I know we've done some that started up, and I did one that started and finished on Sunday, right after the draft in 4 rounds. So like, yeah, I mean, we're already in this. You're already in the thick of things, but hopefully you have a little bit of time. You can process this out, listen to folks like us, taking all of the info from around the fantasy football community, try to build your own consensus, but we're here to give you what our major takeaways were from the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just kick things off here. I'm going to take the 101 and make my life really easy. So I'm going to take Anthony Richardson, and it might be a little bit spicy here for the 101, but he went to the honeypot spot of all spots. He went to the Indianapolis Colts, paired up with Shane Steichen. We saw what Steichen did with Jalen Hurts, not to mention what Steichen did with Justin Herbert in LA a few years prior. So he has this ability to develop quarterbacks, or at least build offenses around quarterbacks. He's a freak. Worst case scenario, he's Justin Fields from last year's, like how I keep looking at him. Like, he's going to run the ball. He's going to be good at running the ball. And if he's bad at throwing, he's Justin Fields, which is a top 10 quarterback. So I'm good with it. I'm taking A-Rich 101. Just the quarterback value makes it even easier to do that.
All he has to do is throw for 2,200 yards. Like, I think we forget about how bad Justin Fields was as a passer last year. 2,200 yards. Like that. Just try to imagine that Colts offense not passing for that with Anthony Richardson, with Michael Pittman Jr., with Josh Downs that they got in there as well, with Alec Pierce that they drafted last year, JT running the rock, a healthy offensive line this year. Hard to imagine that he can't at least do that and then pick up some rushing yards on the ground as well with that athleticism that we know is there, even better than Justin Fields is. So, yeah, as long as they let him loose, even if they try to keep him confined, at some point they're going to have to let him loose if it doesn't work. And then he turns in the second half of last year, Justin Fields. So love Anthony Richardson. He's not my locked in 101 everywhere, but most of the time he is going to be my 101. The other 101 that people will say we're crazy for not taking at the 101, I will, though, take at the 102 because I do think he has a difference between the other two quarterbacks in this class, and that is Bijan Robinson, guy who went, what was it, 9 overall to the Atlanta Falcons, and in the top 10 running back in 2023 to the Atlanta Falcons. We've got the Arthur Smith system. Everybody thinks that he's just going to be out there and be the next Derrick Henry. I don't think it's going to be that, but I think he's going to be a top 5 running back in the league, man. With that offense, I don't care what his usage is. He's going to have efficiency in my mind with how that offense runs. They've got a good offensive line that they've built up over the last couple of years as they've been rebuilding there. Bijan Robinson is going to be used as a weapon as well. It's not just all about the rushing. He's going to be used as a passer as well. They've said so in the press conferences. He was drafted to be the face of this franchise. Whether Desmond Ridder is good or not, Taylor Heineke could run this offense for all I care. Marcus Mariota could come back and run this offense for all I care, and I would still have Bijan Robinson here at my 102.
Yeah, I think it's an interchangeable. I think 1A, 1B is how I'm going to look at it with A-Rich and Bijan, depending on my team needs, depending on the situation, league settings, those types of things. So I have no problem switching back and forth. And huge plug here to Destination Devy, patreon.com/all gas. There was an AMA that Ray did just on Tuesday, and talking about the class as a whole, kind of breaking things down. Actually had Paige Demakos from the Draft Network. She's the CEO of the Draft Network, and she came on and talked about Bijan a little bit and how the workhorse running back is kind of dying out, and then talked about, Bijan being this Ferrari. And so just kind of talking about some of those things and how they plan to use him. It seems like we might need to temper expectations. As much as I'd love for him to get 300 carries and 100 targets, that is not realistic. He is going to get, I think, the lion's share of the workload. However, I think they're going to be, very careful. Like, let's not forget that Atlanta does have a 1,000-yard rusher who was a rookie last year in Tyler Algier. I know his draft capital wasn't super significant, but that's nothing to scoff at. And he's a big body. It's someone that they'll probably be willing to use between the tackles as well, just as a hammer. So I love Bijan, but I just want people to temper expectations, think he's going to be a 2,000-yard, player on his rookie year. So that's where I'm at. So on to the 103 here. I'm going to take Bryce Young, quarterback out of Alabama, went number 1 overall. I mean, it seems to be the safest quarterback pick where you know what you're getting from him. I don't know what his ceiling necessarily is because he doesn't really have that Konami code upside, but I really like Bryce Young, the talent. I have the most hope for him and really look forward to seeing what that offense looks like in Carolina.
Yeah, I really like the prospect of Bryce Young. Obviously, number 1 overall. The Carolina Panthers liked him as well. And as you said, he's probably the most safe prospect in this class, even with Bijan Robinson, just because of the position that he plays. Bryce Young, even with his size, I don't think his size is going to be like an injury factor or anything to him in the NFL. We protect NFL QBs in the current modern era that we're in. So the size isn't a concern to me. In terms of injury, it is a little bit of just like playing over the line, but we've seen him play at Alabama with a NFL ready line in front of him week in and week out. So I'm not too concerned about that. Love myself some Bryce Young, and you give me it's not a difficult decision, but I don't like where I'm sitting at here with the 104 because he is my 3rd quarterback off the board. And I will take CJ Stroud, but he is definitely my 3. There's no way you can convince me that he is anything but a 3. It is going to a Houston Texans franchise that is my franchise. And while I am, a true and loyal fan, I don't like what we did this draft. And that is probably a solitary take of mine compared to the rest of the fan base, because the rest of the fan base that I've talked to absolutely loves this take. But me personally, I think it was too much capital to give up. They did give up all of this capital. Don't get it twisted. The trade up for 3, whenever they took Will Anderson, was the trade up for what was CJ Stroud pick. If they could have flipped them, they would have, but they gained leverage not taking Will Anderson at 2. I know why you keep laughing at me whenever I say this. This is just NFL GM.
It is a fan trying to justify taking, trading away their 24 first. I know I get the leverage. But
I hate it still. I
I
fully
know.
hate it. But yes, I mean, there's a little bit of a justification. There's a little bit of a justification for it, but
it's like I can feel your pain, and like you're like, well, it was the leverage move. We tried to do this, and like you try to semi talk yourself into it, but yeah, giving up that 24 first, oof.
yeah, at least give up Cleveland's. Like at least give up Cleveland's first. But anyway, CJ Stroud, fantasy and NFL aside, fantasy football here.
Yeah.
He's going to be a quarterback, and he's going to be a highly drafted quarterback that's going to have multiple opportunities in the NFL. He's going to be built around this system in a Shanahan probably style offense where we're probably going to try to keep it closer to the line of scrimmage, limit what he has to do in processing. Now we do need to get him weapons. It's difficult without that 24 first and without that 12 overall pick that we also traded up for to get the weapons that CJ Stroud does need to evolve this offense. But I think over time, I think he can get there. We'll see if he starts right out of the gate. I think he does because the fan base needs it. But CJ Stroud in Superflex, I don't think you can take him anywhere else but the 104 right now.
Yep, right there with you. I think you broke it down good enough for me. So at the 105, we have one of the biggest surprises of the draft was Jamir Gibbs getting taken only 4 picks behind Bijan Robinson. Detroit had a guy in mind. They went up and got him. Now, the offense itself was high-powered. It was explosive. It had its moments. We've seen what the DeAndre Swift role is. He might actually get more carries and more touches than what DeAndre Swift did. But even just looking at numerically what Swift did do in his injury-riddled seasons, he was averaging around 100 to 150 carries on the ground, and then he was on pace for 80 to 85 targets. I think he had like 65 and 75 in between that range for his entire 3 years there in Detroit. But he is gone, so that opens things up for Gibbs. So I love what Jamir Gibbs' potential could be in that offense. I know some people are saying, that they're shouting to the rooftops that Jamir Gibbs is going to be some special elite, better than Bijan-esque talent. And I'm not there yet, but I do think that he's going to take on that DeAndre Swift role. I think he could, I relate it to an Eckler-esque role where he's going to need to be uber efficient and he needs to score touchdowns. If he's not scoring touchdowns, he's going to be a good player still, but he's just going to be in that back end RB1, RB2 range simply because he's just going to get those yards. And then you're going to have Monty there to pound it in just like Jamal Williams did at the goal line. So love Jamir Gibbs. For me, this is the locked and loaded top 5. Mix and match however you want in your own personal drafts. This is how we would have it. And then, obviously some variation with that 1-2 slot, I think.
Yep. On certain teams, there's a variation of the 1-2, but I think for both of us, this is our top 5 locked and loaded. And I don't think it changes at 6 either. I think it's JSN. It's our wide receiver 1 before we came into the draft. It's the wide receiver 1 of the draft, and it's our wide receiver 1 post NFL draft as well. It's still JSN. I know the landing spot isn't all that we wanted it to be because he does have 2 guys in front of him of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I do think it's actually a good thing for JSN that Geno Smith wasn't replaced in this draft just because you don't have that turnover and the uncertainty at the quarterback position as long as Geno doesn't fall off a cliff and, become the pumpkin of the Cinderella story that we saw him become last year. Hopefully that doesn't happen to him, but as long as that doesn't happen, I do like the future of the Seattle Seahawks team. Geno running it behind the center. And so JSN, as much as his upside, I think, is a little bit capped in year 1, still think he is locked and loaded the best wide receiver of this draft class, and he's still going to be my wide receiver 1 of fantasy drafts as well.
And I know it's, in years past with Russ, but of all the teams, the efficiency that the Seattle offense has run in the past, they are one of the few teams that has had 2 wide receiver 1s on the same team. So maybe not this year, with Lockett still there, but Lockett is, I think, 31 this year. So that's going to be, he's at the back end of his career. If JSN can step in year 2, have another, give that rookie year experience and just take that next step, you never know what could happen there in Seattle. So I think that's pretty consensus as well for 6. And then this is where things get hairy. And I'm going to take Jordan Addison, wide receiver that went to Minnesota. at pick 23. He was actually the last wide receiver taken in the first round, but I love what Minnesota does. Thielen just vacated over 100 targets. They like to pass the ball. He's going to get his share in that offense, and he's going to be a solid, consistent wide receiver too, I think. I would love to say that he has more upside than that in year one, but I'm going to just play it safe and say that he's a wide receiver too. I think his upside is going to be like Devonta Smith-esque, where he can crack that back half of the wide receiver 1 range, wide receiver 8 to 12, if things all go perfect for him. But I think there is going to be some development that needs to happen in order for him to get to that tier. So taking him here in that 7 slot.
Yeah, absolutely love him paired across from Jets. It's going to open it up for him so much. So if you want to double team Jets, go ahead and leave Jordan Addison alone and don't press him, and see if he can get off the line and try to create some separation on the other side of the ball. Absolutely love it for Jordan Addison. He is my 2 as well. We still don't have any difference in our rankings throughout all of these top 7 picks. And I don't think we have anything here at the 8 either, but I'm going to go with Quentin Johnston, wide receiver to the Los Angeles Chargers. All of these wide receivers in the NFL draft went back to back to back to back. And I think we might be continuing that trend in our rookie drafts as well. Quentin Johnston, though, with the Los Angeles Chargers, I'm just taking the arm, or I just taking the body that is tied to the arm of Justin Herbert and this Kellen Moore offense that they're bringing in. Also taking it with the injury concerns of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams that we've seen for the last couple of years. We've seen Josh Palmer get thrust into roles that he is definitely not well suited for and not well equipped for. And so if Quentin Johnston can actually make that jump to the next level, I know we've had concerns about disappearing acts in the college game. Let's see if he can put it all together. I think he would be interestingly enough, I think he would be a pretty good Mike Williams replacement. But if you put both of those bodies on the field along with along with a Keenan Allen underneath, I think this could be a pretty damn good offense. So I like the Quentin Johnston pick here at the 108.
Yeah, I mean, he arguably has the most upside of anybody. Not only is he tied to Justin Herbert, he has as you mentioned, the 2 injury-riddled wide receivers ahead of him, also aging out with Keenan Allen being in his age 30 to 31 season. I think he's 30 this year. And then Mike Williams in his age 29 season. So they're both getting up there, and with the injuries that they do have, not to mention the fact that QJ profiles as like the alpha of the class. So, I know he's a little lighter than we anticipated, but still really like his upside. So yeah, I don't blame you for taking him there at the 8. Here I am at 9, and I have to just keep it going. We're just going to take Zay Flowers. I flip-flop here between QJ and Zay Flowers quite a bit in my rankings. This is all initial thoughts and initial reaction after the draft. We don't know anything about how teams are going to utilize these guys yet, but Zay Flowers for me could easily be a Hollywood Brown plus, in my opinion. I think he can take on that same role, has better hands than Hollywood. Who knows what Hollywood would have been if he wouldn't have dropped all those deep balls. But Zay Flowers can definitely do that and more. So I'm really excited to see what it looks like in a new Baltimore offense. Like Monken is going to come in. I don't know if they're going to be as low passing volume as they have been in years past. So excited to see what that offense looks like. And I have a lot of love for Zay Flowers right now.
Love me some Zay Flowers, and unfortunately, this guy that we're going to pick next, I don't have as much love for, in the NFL draft didn't either, because he was sitting in the green room for an entire 4 hours day 1. Didn't even come back for day 2, but he's going to come in here as the 110 in this draft. Will Levis, second guy off the board in round 2. Unfortunate for him, it was kind of a sore sight to see him just sitting there with his family and girlfriend, just like, I'm not getting picked tonight. Like as soon as he got past, what was it? I think it was 11 with the Titans there. You were just like, oh, this is going to be a long night, son. Like, oh, I kind of feel bad for you. But Will Levis
showing him on camera too. I'm like, just
let him go,
please.
Just let him go. I don't care that he eats mayonnaise in his coffee and eats banana peels. Like, he might be a little bit of a weird dude, but he doesn't deserve this. What he does have, though, is a situation where he can easily take over this role, probably even by day 1 of the NFL starting. He's got Ryan Tannehill in front of him. I think Vrabel came out and said, Ryan Tannehill is our starter as of Monday. We're recording this on Wednesday. So, hell, by now, Will Levis could be the starter. We don't know. He could have done something for Vrabel that just makes him the starter already. We'll see what happens, but he has probably the easiest path out of anybody who is not these top 3 quarterbacks to take over the starter role either by day 1 or sometime throughout this season, because we don't think these Tennessee Titans are going to be very good. I think we will see Will Levis on the field sooner than later. Does he actually produce at the NFL level? Still to be seen, but I'm going to take the advantage in the superflex position and take him here at the 110.
Yeah, he's a very early second. Like, it wasn't like he went pick 60. He was pick 33, I think you said.
33.
So second, pick in the second round. I'm with you. I think he has every opportunity. Everything's, there for him. He just needs to use that disappointment as motivation and hopefully stay focused through this offseason, and hopefully he can get out there. So yeah, I'm with you. And this is really where I have another tough time trying to figure out. I think this is where I draw a line. I have a couple tiers here of where I've broken things down. For me, it's the first 5, and then it's 6 through 10. And then I have another tier break, and I'm gonna take Devonta Chain at the 111. I'm gonna take your guy from Texas A&M, just because he was a 3rd-round running back, pick 84, went to the Miami Dolphins, easiest backfield to crack. You have Mostert with injury, issues. You have Jeff Wilson, same kind of thing, injury issues, and they're guys in the system that are very familiar and very good in that system, but Devonta Chain could be special in Miami. That will be the fastest offense out there. You're going to have Tyreek, Waddle, and Devonta Chain. I'm so excited to see how they use him, what his role is, and how creative they get to get the ball in his hands and get him into space. So that's going to be my pick 111 right here.
I think we are legitimately 11 for 11 in terms of our rankings so far. But I think this might be where we have a difference just because of how we try to do our formats here. We picking it back, doing it again, 1.75 tight end premiums like we always do here. I might have a little bit of a difference in that type of format compared to some other formats. If it was no tight end premium or 1.5, I think I'd have a different pick here. And honestly, it's not the one you're going to think it is.
I know who it is.
We're going to say it's a 1.75 tight end premium, and I'm going to take my tight end 1 of the class. It is not the guy who's a tight end in the first round. It's Michael Mayer, still my tight end 1, even after Dalton Kincaid was traded up to the Buffalo Bills. Michael Mayer is a do-it-all. He's going to be on the field for most of the snaps that the Las Vegas Raiders run. Dalton Kincaid, everybody just wants to plug him straight into the slot role, and I don't think it's going to happen 80% of the snaps or whatever people want to try to put him there for. Like, Dawson Knox is still there. They still have slot receivers there. They brought Deontay Hardy in. They still have Khalil Shakir. They still have a couple other guys that they want to rotate through this offense in that role. Why is Dalton Kincaid going to take over all of that role year 1 as a rookie? Other than the fact that he was traded up for in the first round, which I will give credit for, that is a pretty significant level of trust that they're putting in Dalton Kincaid. I'm still going to take my tight end 1 of the class in Michael Mayer.
While you have that one, I'm just going to take with the 2-1. I am going to take Dalton Kincaid. But I am with you. I like what the opportunity that Michael Mayer goes into. So for me, this is a situation where I actually have a 1A, 1B with the 2 of these. I do have Kincaid at number 1. I loved Kincaid throughout the process. My only question with him was his back concerns and his injury issues. Seems like that's all cleared up. I know everyone's like, oh, it's Gronkowski all over again, right? Like his back issues coming out of Arizona and 2nd round tight end. But yeah, this is a 1st round pick. They traded up to get him. They hopped Dallas thinking that Dallas was going to go after him. But I do have concerns. Like, Dawson Knox is not going away. So I am curious to see how they use Dalton Kincaid. Do they use him in a slot role at times? Do they use a lot of 2 tight end sets? So very intrigued to see his usage, which is why I am with you. I think Mayer has a much better path to playing time, targets. We've seen what Waller did in Las Vegas. We know the Josh McDaniels system coming from New England loves the tight end. So very excited for Mayer as well. And I think he's going to probably have a better rookie season unless Kincaid does happen to be that slot guy in Buffalo, and then we'll have a new conversation. But yeah, give me Kincaid there at the 2-1.
James Cook 2.0, just at a different position.
Stop it.
Anyway, we're gonna move on to, as I'm ribbing you there, I'm gonna do it to myself because this is one of the most depressing picks that I've ever had to make in my life.
Take him.
I'm gonna
Gotta do
just pour one out. Zach Charbonnet. Why'd you have to go the way you did? Seattle Seahawks take Zach Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker's there. He was a very good running back. He was RB2 for some people before this draft happened, and now there's Zach Charbonnet, my RB2 of the class before we got all of the landing spots in draft capital. Not anymore. He is now my RB4, and it's very sad to say. The good thing, though, I don't think he's completely dead like a lot of people are probably going to say. I think they are going to interchange these two running backs. Pete Carroll has already come out and said that they will be competing for touches from day one.
Oh.
And so I don't know whether that's good for both or bad for both, but whatever the case is, both of them have opportunity of touches. And I do still like the prospect of Zach Charbonnet. I know a lot of people have put out some really revealing statistics of like secondary stats saying that Kenneth Walker wasn't actually all that great last year in terms of just getting hit behind the line of scrimmage and not getting yards after contact, everything like that. So hopefully Zach Charbonnet can take over a little bit of a role here. I expect this to be a pretty split backfield, though, and I can't take him anything higher than this in this format than the 202.
And the big thing was Pete Carroll last year even said that they're going to ride the hot hand, and Kenneth Walker just had his hot moments where he was able to stay hot and keep that ball in his hands. Zach Charbonnet is going to be a problem. Zach Charbonnet is going to be a problem for both of their fantasy impacts. So they both could be RB2s. You know, it's going to cap their upside for sure. But I do like both of them. Like the pick there, and you make me take my guy that I was super high on. I still am super high on. Just not as excited year one as I was hoping to be. But Kendra Miller, running back, New Orleans, 3rd round pick. If you're catching a theme here, like the fact that, yeah, but we'll keep getting into it here. But man, the running backs that we thought we were going to be taking in the 2nd round that we were really excited about, we're still taking them in the 2nd round. The problem is the excitement is not there. So that is what has changed. I love Kendra Miller, love the talent. I know everyone's like, oh, well, Alvin Kamara suspended 6 games. Like, okay, or might get suspended. Okay, big deal. Kamara is going to be there. They signed Jamal to a 3-year deal, more or less a 2-year deal with the guarantees. I mean, he could go by the wayside after a year, but they're going to make sure that all 3 of those guys get the ball. And that's going to be a problem for his fantasy upside. And when you really look at the running back share and the touches in that backfield, there's not a lot. There's about 100 different attempts or 100 attempts you could probably put together for Kendra Miller in year one. It does worry me. So I'm still going to take the hope in year 2 and beyond with the talent that I believe in Kendra.
Love Kendra, don't love the spot, but he's going to have some opportunity at work, right? Like that's all that we're really cared about. And I'm going to take the last guy that I actually like in this format. Past this, and this is in 1.75 tight end premium. Past this, I don't like anybody. And we're at the 2-4 in a 1.75 tight end premium. I'm going to take Sam LaPorta to the Detroit Lions and pretty much just playing the format as one of the last tight ends that I really think is going to be locked and loaded into a tight end spot and into a tight end role that I really like. I know they didn't use Hawkinson to the fullest of his abilities, but he was still producing as like a top 7 tight end in the league whenever he was there. He just didn't have the 140 targets that were thrust upon him at the end of last season after he transferred over to the Minnesota Vikings because they didn't have anybody else that they could really throw the ball to at that point. So I know it's not a perfect landing spot, but Sam LaPorta still good draft capital to the Detroit Lions in the 1st round. I'll take that there. And Chase, good luck with the rest of this one, man. Props to us for even going past this point because it gets gross.
I still got a few that I'm interested in.
I know we do, but
my level of excitement is not there. And my level of excitement is definitely not there for Sam LaPorta like it is for a lot of people. Like you kind of touched on some sore spots there with Detroit and how they use the tight end. So it's just going to be very interesting to see what Sam LaPorta is in that offense. They, bringing in Gibbs again, you're going to have more pass catchers. JMO, whenever he's done with his suspension, what kind of role is there? What kind of target share is there for LaPorta? So have my concerns, but 175, all good with it. Early second round pick. They definitely invested capital in him. So I have a couple guys here that I'm kind of torn between. There's one running back left that I'm actually interested in before I kind of cut a tier. And then there's 2 wide receivers that I'm looking at. And I think just to make you talk about it, I'm going to take Roschon Johnson.
Okay.
I'm going to take running back Roschon Johnson. I have him a little bit higher than you do. I know this is where things are kind of shifting for us. I think he has a very easy path to touches. It's Khalil Herbert. It's Donta Foreman, and I love Donta Foreman. I think he has a better chance at starting than Khalil Herbert, but truly, it's an open backfield. Roschon will get the opportunity to get on the field immediately for third down plays, and we'll see what else that role brings. But he's a guy that that coaches love, GMs love, the locker room's going to love, and if he can just get on the field, he doesn't have a lot of competition for touches. So that's really my justification for him here, and my hope that Roschon can be something here in the early to mid second.
Yeah, you thought you were going to kick into me to have to talk about him, but you were dead wrong. I've still got a running back that's ahead of Roschon. I've got Tank Bixby over Roschon Johnson as it currently stands, and yeah, that was a little bit of a slip up on you. I know we haven't really talked through all of our rankings, but I know we have talked about Tank Bixby, especially for one of our leagues where I was hoping Tank Bixby would fall to us in one of our co-managed leagues in one of our rookie drafts. So, yeah, Tank Bixby, I think, actually has a better shot to more of a role in his offense, even though Travis Etienne is there, than Roschon Johnson does in Chicago. I like Deonta Foreman. I like Khalil Herbert. I like Roschon Johnson as well. And I think all of them just eat into each other. I think Tank Bixby and Travis Etienne complement each other perfectly within that Jacksonville offense. And so Tank Bixby, I think, has a very clear and defined role. I know he is technically smaller than Etienne, but they play two very different styles in the way that they actually run the football. Don't care as much about the weight, even though it is a factor. We've talked about it before. I think Tank can overcome it, and I think with this capital, the Jacksonville Jaguars think he can overcome it. I'll take Tank Bixby here at the 206 and see if you take the guy that neither of us really want to talk about.
I will say, when we do, because we are going to do rankings position by position, when we do our running back rankings, I do have some fun stuff to talk about with Tank Bixby and why I actually have moved him down a little bit. But perfectly fine with it here. It is pick your poison, truly, when you get into the second round. So and I mean the whole second round, it is pick your poison. I'm going to do it. Give me Jonathan Mingo. Hands down the biggest riser throughout the draft. I know people talked about him getting, day 2 draft capital, and there was some hype and excitement around Jonathan Mingo, but he went pick 39. He went to the Carolina Panthers. I see a couple different things that could happen here. I could see him week 1 sitting on the bench, very Terrace Marshall-esque, behind Terrace Marshall, Adam Thielen and DJ Chark. I could see that happening. I could also see him starting alongside DJ Chark and Adam Thielen. And I'm like,
he's the starting Z.
Man. Dude, I don't friggin' know. But I don't want to make the pick in all honesty. But those guys are shorter term investments. Mingo does, have some development that he needs to do. But they put him with Bryce Young. And Bryce Young, being the accuracy specialist that he is, if he can just put the ball on Mingo, Mingo's got some really good hands. Jay Rich, that is one of the biggest things that he talked about when he was high on Mingo, is the fact that the dude has really freaking good hands. So, hey, why not?
Okay,
that's all I got.
Is this our tier break? Because I think this is my tier break for me. This is where okay. Got one more. Let's see if I take him here then, because I'm going to be taking Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rasheed Rice. Not the tier break. All right. Nope. Rasheed Rice going in the second round, 55 overall to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
I don't know what more. I understand that he's probably going to be a little bit taken down just because of the disappointments that the Kansas City Chiefs have given us in terms of rookies over the past couple of years. But Rasheed Rice has the opportunity in this offense to be the two behind Travis Kelce. Yes, Travis Kelce is the one and will forever be the one until he is no longer playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. And so maybe, just maybe, he can take over a little bit more of a share than what we've seen from the other wide receivers in this Kansas City offense. We'll see if it happens. I'm not the biggest guy on Rasheed Rice. I don't even feel really great about putting him up here at the 2-8, but I don't think I can let the Kansas City wide receiver that's taken in round 2 slip any further past this.
Yeah. Juan Thornhill, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, and now Rasheed Rice, second-round wide receivers over the last 4 years.
It hasn't been a great track record, but third time's the charm.
Yeah, third time's the charm, right? Like we'll go with that one. So you never know. I get the landing spot, and I feel like that's the trap spot. But hey, I guess we're in the mid to late second round here. I'm happy to take a gamble on Rasheed. So
as long as you're not taking him in the first, right? Like, don't be.
You saw. I mean, I don't know if you saw. Did you see that one? I think it was a DLF. I don't want to misquote it here, but I'm pretty sure.
I forget exactly who it is, so I'm not going to name any names. But yes, I have seen somebody be taking him at the 107. So
107. Do not do that. Okay, just don't do it. Like if that's what Rasheed Rice costs, let someone else do that. So, anyways, yeah, my tier break would have been my guy right here, Marvin Mims. And I really like the talent. I think that they're going to be trading Cortland Sutton, and that's kind of what I'm banking on with this. But the fact that I'm getting him in the late second, perfectly fine with it. Love the talent. Jerry Jeudy on the 5th year. They picked up his 5th year, so he's got 2 more years left in Denver. The big thing for me is he is the first pick of the Sean Payton era. They traded up from the 3rd round into the 2nd round to get Marvin Mims. So they actually traded up to get him, and that was the very first pick that the Denver Broncos had this year. So it says a lot to me that they really, really wanted this guy, or they were really excited about the opportunity with him. So that's pretty much what I'm going on. I think Russ will be better than he was last year. I think this team will be better than last year. So I'm taking Marvin Mims here. We missed somebody, didn't we?
Man, no, it's revealing to me because I had my rankings initially, and I've now seen that one of my guys is too low and another one of my guys is too high. And I'm torn now between the two of them because I want to move one of them up a little bit and one of them down a little bit, especially with the news that has come out. I don't know if I can do it to one guy who I really like and one guy to Barry's guy. Oh, I'm torn between the two of them here. I'm going to do Barry. I'm going to let him slide one more pick and let Chase talk about him, hopefully, if he takes him here at the next pick. Taija Spears, I'm going to take him in front of Jalen Hyatt. Man, I had Taija ranked way too high. I don't know if I'm overreacting to the concerns of the knee injury and the new medicals that have been coming out over the past couple of days, saying that he has the cartilage. He has thinning cartilage. His knee is basically almost like bone on bone at this point. 2 ACL tears in the same knee. I don't even know if the ACL was fully attached after the second one. It sounds like it may have just been left there, and he has stability throughout his like quad and calf muscle or something. Crazy stuff if you actually want to go to like fantasy Twitter, like fantasy medical doctor Twitter, and read on Taija Spears. Absolutely fascinating that nobody still knows what's going on with Taija Spears. If you do know, please tell me, because I still don't know exactly what's going on with it. Does sound like his career life is going to be a little bit shorter, but I really do like the prospect of Taija Spears. And we've seen with this Tennessee Titans offense that it does feel like they're going in for one more year, but that feels like it's it. If this team doesn't work, it's probably going to be turned over. Derrick Henry will definitely be out. Taija Spears will be the guy coming in, and I think he could actually take over a little bit more of this workload than we've seen from other backs that have came through the same system.
Yeah, I just have, 2 words, King Henry, and I know he might get traded. That's about my biggest fear is like he's going to be there all year. If Taija Spears already has a shortened career, like let's not take 1 year off. So I don't know what's going on. The medicals, I think, worry me a little bit. Overall, I'm not too, I feel like this is a good range. I'm happy to take him here in the late second. Barry, if you're watching this, I hope you are. I apologize that it's taken us to the end of the second. I'm sure you are just freaking out that Rasheed Rice and Marvin Mims got taken and Taija Spears got taken over. I'm like, what are we doing? But Jalen Hyatt here, he was the guy that we weren't all that high on. I wasn't all that high on going throughout the process. I honestly thought that Ced Tillman, when they were both on the field, looked like the better receiver. And so I know that he's fast, and I know that he proved what he proved the Cowboys wide receivers coach wrong by saying whatever he said, he can't run routes. I don't know. I want to see it on the field. But he did end up in a very good spot, and I do actually have him higher than this 211. I actually, messed up a little bit here, but I have him higher than this 211. The dude has every opportunity to get on the field. In Dayball, we trust. So if they're going to use his speed correctly, he really doesn't have a lot of competition in the wide receiver. I mean, he has a lot of competition, but doesn't have a lot of good competition in the wide receiver room. I think they have like 18 slot receivers still, if I last recall correctly. So
19, I think it was.
19. Okay. Yeah. 19. Yeah. So adding Jalen Hyatt there, I think Jalen Hyatt has a little bit more flexibility to do more in that offense. So I am cautiously optimistic for Jalen Hyatt. However, if it doesn't work out, I will not be surprised at all. So happy to take him here at the back of the second.
All right. And one last time before we do wrap up this second round, already 40 minutes in, man, we might have to stop this one at 3 or we're going to blow through round 4. I'm going to lean back into the format, and I'm going to go with a guy that I have not gotten in any of my drafts yet in my tight end premium leagues, and Luke Musgrave. I've gotten only Tucker Kraft shares so far because he's going so much lower than Luke Musgrave is. I think Luke Musgrave is being a little bit too pumped up just because he was taken one round in front of Luke Musgrave. They took him back to back. I don't think they had much separation between the two, so they just said, hey, the guy's still here. Let's just take the other one as well and see which one wins out in camp. All that they have behind him is Josiah DeGuara and, oh gosh, what's the other one's name? I'm completely
Tyler Davis.
Tyler Davis, that is it. Yes, I've seen him on some rosters, and I'm like, what are we doing here with? I don't even know who that is. And I still didn't know who he was here, even after seeing him on some fantasy rosters. So, yeah, Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. I don't have too much separation between the two, but I do have Luke Musgrave over Tucker Kraft, just not as much as most people that I've seen in tight end premiums do.
I'm going to keep the tight end. Wait a second. Yeah, because this is 175. I got to keep reminding myself 1.75 tight end premium. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Luke Shoon Maker going to the Dallas Cowboys. Second round draft pick. Again, it's the format. It's the tight end value. They invested in him the way that Dallas does like to use tight ends, and all he has to really do is beat out Ferguson and Hendershot still. So I like the path to relevance. That's why I'm going to go with Shoon Maker here in the 301.
Okay. Oh God, we are in gross land now. Okay, I'm going to take the highest one on my board. It's going to be a guy that honestly I have a little bit higher, but with the tight end premium, some things have been shifted around. I might have him a little bit lower after I readjust, but I'm going to go back to the wide receiver. Well, I'm going to go with Josh Downs going into the Indianapolis Colts. I think he could I know the role hasn't been exactly there for the Indianapolis Colts over the last couple of years, but I don't think they've had anybody as good in a slot role as Josh Downs over the last couple of years. I mean, they've been rolling out Paris Campbell there and Ashton Doolin for the last couple of years. So I think Josh Downs is a lot better than those guys. Hopefully he can establish a little bit of rapport with Anthony Richardson coming in this year, and Josh Downs can be maybe a wide receiver 3.
Again, this is going to be our initial mock. We will be making some adjustments here. And this was we don't know each other's rankings. We've done this kind of intentionally. We have an idea based on conversations, but the fact that you skipped Jaden Reed, I'm going to be taking Jaden Reed here.
I have Josh Downs over Jaden Reed. Yeah, by choice.
By choice.
Not a skip.
Love it. Not a skip. I just I couldn't take third round wide receiver Josh Downs over second round wide receiver Jaden Reed. I've loved what Jaden Reed did at Michigan State. I've personally got to witness him single-handedly beat Nebraska, and I know Nebraska's nothing special, but Jaden Reed looked special on the field, and it was just one of those things where his speed was different, his agility looked like he was able to see things differently when he's out there. So him being in Green Bay, that's the only concern is what does a Jordan Love run offense look like? But hey, here in the early third, taking the sixth wide receiver taken in the draft, I'll take him here as the wide receiver 10 off the board. So yeah, give me some Jaden Reed, baby.
All right, and I'm going to go back to the wide receiver well, taking another guy who I still have over Jaden Reed. Again, not a skip. I'm going to take Cedric Tillman going to the Cleveland Browns, who is still over Jaden Reed in that Jordan Love run offense over in Green Bay. I'll take the guy that I think is attached to Deshaun Watson, who I think can still beat out Elijah Moore and DPJ to be the two behind Amari Cooper and Cedric Tillman.
I need a sounder. I need a soundboard that says, "The fuck are we doing here?" No, I need a Barry sounder. Big shout out to Dynasty Barry. Does all
we doing here?
need that for us. But big shout out to him and everything that he does for Destination Devi. Huge part running the mocks, everything he does behind the scenes, and then what he contributes to the newsletter every single week. So absolutely love him. One of our favorite people that we've met in the community. So I'm really torn. So this is like, I'm good with Tillman. And just as we recap here, looking at round 2 through, I'd say 202, 203, all the way to the 304. Fuck, dude, I don't care. Pick your poison. Like, you could probably justify it to me one way or another. And like, I'd be like, yeah, all right. And speaking of trying to justify it one way or another, I guess. No, I'm not doing it. Screw that. I'm going to take Tucker Kraft. I'm going to take Tucker Kraft here, not letting you get both Green Bay tight ends. There's a very real possibility that he is the better tight end in Green Bay, and I'll just take my shot here in the mid-third.
Yeah, I'm actually playing a little bit to the board here and actually just community consensus. I actually think Tucker Kraft is going to be the better tight end, and I have him in my personal own rankings without community consensus baked in. I have Tucker Kraft over Luke Musgrave, and I know that's going to be pretty it's going to be against the grain, but it's the way I have him in my rankings. So God, okay, now I have to go back and I actually have to look at this thing because I didn't think there was any way you were going to snipe me on that Tucker Kraft share right there.
While you look, I will just say, like, I'm actually right there with you. I have them back to back. Okay. And I flip-flop because that's the tight end position. Like, draft capital matters to a point, but the fact that they took 2 of them, all it takes is Kraft to just be better. Like, we don't really know what Musgrave is, and so we'll see, but I have them back to back, and I'm going to get as much as I can of each.
One round of draft capital between the two, I don't think signifies much difference between where they had these guys ranked. So I'm glad you gave me a little bit of a time to stall. If you need one here in a bit, just shout me out and I'll give you a little bit of time to stall as well. But I'm going to go back to the running back. Well, we're in the 3rd round. We always say don't take wide receivers in the 3rd round. It's all we've taken outside of tight end. But I'm going to go back to the running back well and take Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. Late round guy, but all that we have here is Joe Mixon. Nobody can pass block within this offense. And so maybe Chase Brown can actually figure it out at the next level. And maybe Mixon does get cut like everybody's been, prognosticating for a little while here, but I don't think it's actually going to happen anymore. Chase Brown, he will at least have a role. Samaje Perine gone. It's either going to be Chase Brown, Travion Williams, or I'm forgetting the 3rd guy off the top of my head, but one of these guys will fill in for that secondary role within the Cincinnati Bengals offense, high-powered offense. Love the opportunity there for Chase Brown.
Yeah, Chris Evans.
Yes. Thank you.
I don't know, man. Like, to me, we're in the 4th round light is what I'm going to call it, because it's gross right now.
Gross range.
I'm like legit looking at the rankings, looking at how I have things right now, and like this is just the biggest shakeup for me. And I'm going to take him because he's the name, because of the tight end premium. I'm going to just take Darnell Washington.
There you go. I was going to take him next.
Have to take Darnell here. I know he's in Pittsburgh. There's already an established tight end with Freiermuth there, but best ball, maybe. Like, he can score some points here and get a couple touchdowns in a game. I just don't know. I could also see him being a left tackle, and then just having him out there road grading.
You okay, man? I'll take over for you here. You're calling it. You're calling in for it. Okay, yeah. Darnell Washington's going to be your pick here, and we have a little bit of concerns. I think we had him ranked as our 3rd tight end actually coming into the pre-draft process because we thought he was athletic enough to be an actual receiving tight end. However, the the landing spot just makes me think that he's not going to be that and actually revert back to our fears before we brought him all the way up to 3, where he is going to be in line and then just playing that role where he's just inline blocking and then he'll be used in the red zone, kind of like a late era Eric Ebron-esque type of guy. And so I don't know how much I love that for fantasy production, but he will give you some damn spike weeks. So best ball leagues, I do love me some Darnell Washington. Hopefully we'll get to pick him up in some leagues. I haven't been able to yet, but I've been trying to snipe him here late, but people just like him a little bit more than I do, which is surprising because of the landing spots to me. But here we go. I'm going to go back into what I have as my rankings right now. There's a part of me that wants to go the last one off the board before I really don't care about any of them anymore, but I'm going to give you one opportunity to take them if you really do want to. I'm going to go back to the running back and I'm going to take Eric Gray running back to the New York Giants to back up Saquon Barkley.
That's who I was going to go with. Yeah, I mean, Eric Gray, at least he's going to get the opportunity to get on the field, be the backup. Saquon, there's no long-term deal, so man, God, you stole that one right out from under me. All right. Looking at this point in the draft, Tank Dell, 3rd rounder to Houston. He's so little. Michael Wilson going to Arizona. I don't want to do it. I'm going to do it, though. Super flex. I'm going to take Hendon Hooker. I'll take Hendon Hooker. I don't care really at this point. You know, it's I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to start like everyone else does. We're like, oh, Jared Goff's there only a year. Yeah, but that team's good. He's going to lead them to the playoffs. We'll see how this ends up panning out. And it sounds like there are already talks of an extension in the works, but it is super flex. Anything can happen. That's all I got.
Man, one of the guys that I really love. I wish we could have seen what Hendon Hooker could be if he didn't tear his ACL in college, man. Because as much as everybody wants to argue of the scheme fit, I don't think the scheme was going to be as much of a problem. If you can read a defense pre-snap, I know it's harder to read a defense post-snap, right? Like everything's moving much, much faster. But the way that he was able to dissect SEC defenses pre-snap in college, I think could have translated a little bit easier than a lot of people think to the NFL. I really would have loved to see what Hendon Hooker could do, but I'm with you, man. With this landing spot, they're already buying into Jared Goff, it feels like. I think we're going to get an extension before the regular season comes for Jared Goff. And I hope for Hooker that he can find a place, but he kind of just feels like a guy that's just going to be stuck behind a starting quarterback outside of injury in Detroit. But a high leveraged opportunity if he does ever get to start there. It's not the guy that I was going to take as the last positional guy that I care about, though, because I'm going to take Brenton Strange.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I'm good with that one. Yeah, tight end out of Penn State. Again, 2nd round tight end. He is behind Evan Ingram. I'm all good with that.
Yeah, basically kind of like the same story as Hendon Hooker. Like he's just behind a guy. And
just
maybe the guy will move out in front of him, but it sounds like they're going to get a deal done with the guy in front of him before the season starts.
Same analysis, different position. Isn't that funny? All right, so we're here. My last pick of the 3rd round. I am going to take a running back here because this is where I love to hammer running backs. And I'm going to take a guy that I think that has a chance to get on the field is Chris Rodriguez, running back to the Washington Commanders. Just simply because they don't have a 3, he can do what Brian Robinson does. And if Brian Robinson ever gets hurt or if anyone ever gets hurt, he can step into a role is what my hope is for Chris Rod.
Yeah, I'm giving you the big eyes on that one because I haven't seen Chris Rodriguez go this high. And then I look at the board and I'm like, I don't know what else I would have taken in front of him. So
I'm not looking at my rankings anymore, just so you know, I'm going on total gut feel of how, because I feel like I would do everything different in the end of the 3rd and the 4th round. So just gut feel here based on draft capital and landing spots.
Fully understand, but I'm going to take my next wide receiver off the board. It's the one I actually need to bring down in my rankings because I originally put him too high, but it's Michael Wilson, Arizona. I think I put him there assuming that DeAndre Hopkins was going to be gone early, and now it sounds like he might not be. I don't know how great I feel about him if he does stay in Arizona, but Michael Wilson's a good wide receiver. He can be a wide receiver 3 for this team behind. I guess he can be better than Rondell Moore. Let's just say that.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of Rondell truthers out there, but
Unfortunately.
we'll see how it all pans out. All right, so you have me up kicking off the 4th round. I am going to go back to the running back and I'm going to go with Evan Hull, running back going to the Indianapolis Colts. Injury away, any running back on a 53, he can catch passes. Hope. That's all I got.
About it. Yeah, don't need to really put anything more into it than that.
That's where we're at.
I'm going to take one running back over the guy that I never want to speak the name of, and that's going to be Israel Abanikanda. I know the situation is god-awful there in the Jets system. Why are you taking him at the top of the 5th round to a place that already has Michael Carter? You already have Breece Hall. You already have Bam Knight, who you hit on as an undrafted free agent. And then you take Israel Abanikanda away from all of the hearts and souls of the fantasy landscape who just love this guy and just put the dagger in our heart at the beginning of the 5th round. I mean, there is no reason for that, NFL. I think we need to re-roll the NFL draft, honestly. This is just no. Yeah. We can't have this.
That was just a mock, right? Like that NFL draft was just a mock.
We're still dreaming, right?
I'm going to take the guy that no one wants to take, and I feel like we just have to take him because he has a chance to get on the field. So Zach Evans, running back, going to the LA Rams. He's going to be at least the number 3. I would say, I know I'm disrespecting, what's his name? Something Rivers.
Ronnie Rivers. Come on. Again, Ronnie Riverboat Rivers. Again, the disrespect.
The disrespect. And it is. I don't care. Zach Evans, he just has to beat out Kyron Williams, and then he can, get on the field, I guess, if they want him out there. I don't know. He's probably the biggest faller for other people. I know we love the fact that we get, if we want to take him, it's the 4th round, right? It's like that's kind of the best part. But a lot of people had him as running back 3 in the class, 1st rounder, early 2nd rounder, and he is here in the 4th, borderline undraftable.
Yeah, he's an early 4th. It's pretty wild that I've been so much lower than him on consensus throughout this entire pre-draft process, and now that we've seen mocks come out, I'm actually almost right above consensus of where I actually have him ranked within my normal rankings. So just wild to see on Zach Evans that he's literally like almost right at where my rankings are now, and this is where I thought he was going to be before the NFL draft started. But I've got one last wide receiver that I'm actually willing to take, and that's going to be my Houston Texans taking Tank Dell. There's just not much there. There's just not much else there in the Houston Texans offense right now. You don't have much else to beat. You've got John Mechie, who's coming off of horrific thing medically that he had to deal with. You've got Nico Collins, who nobody has ever thought that he's going to have this elite ceiling. You've got Robert Woods, who looks like he hasn't even left the washer to get to the dryer to step back out on the field. I think Tank Dell can come in here, and even though his size is absolutely not something that you'd normally want in a profile, he's looked good at times, and he's looked good in college, so I'll take the shot on Tank Dell actually translating it to the NFL.
I'm going to go stick with the same team of the guy I just took with Zach Evans, and I'm going to go with Stetson Bennett.
You took my Stetson?
I took Stetson Bennett, man. Hey, that team's going to be bad. Stafford, who knows what the health is. Maybe they trade him, maybe they don't, but that team is not going to be good. I think Stetson Bennett sees the field before actually a lot of the other quarterbacks here that were non-first rounders, at least. And he's at least, I think he's going to get it on the field as a rookie. I really do. I think it sounds crazy, but I think he's going to get a shot to start a game or two, and that'll be fun.
I think he steps on the field well before Hendon Hooker does. So as much as we like the prospect of Hendon Hooker, it might actually be worth
for that one too. Yeah, because he's been on that one for a while.
Yeah, I mean, after he talked through that one, I am actually I might actually put Hendon Hooker down in my 4th round as well. It hurts me to say, but I might actually have those two kind of like back to back at this point, because it does feel like Stetson Bennett has a better shot to start sometime this year than Hendon Hooker does outside of injury. So I'm going to take the last running back that I really like here, the guy who all the short kings rise up, Deuce Vaughn. He's such a good player, man. I just wish that he could be like 3 inches taller and about 20 pounds heavier, because he would dominate the league. He's just not, though, and the profile doesn't normally hit, so he's an outlier. I hope he's an outlier here, but I'll take the shot on the fact that he's an outlier in the 4th.
And we'll just speed through things here. I'm gonna keep, because it is super flex, I'm gonna take Aiden OConnell, and I'm gonna just roll with the quarterbacks here, and then shout out to all of our destination Devi gang, because this is an Eric Vanek special right here. So Aiden OConnell. The interesting point is Jimmy G has not finished a season. I think he's gotten hurt or banged up or missed a game almost every single year. So hey, you know what, Aiden OConnell, maybe you got a shot to get on the field, and if you're throwing balls to Devontae Adams, you can do what Jared Stidham did, and that'll work out really well for fantasy playoffs.
If you haven't gone back and listened to the America's Game podcast that dropped on Saturday on the Destination Devi feed, they had a mock draft with the 4D chess guys. Scott was out, so it was just Eric and the 4D chess guys. They did a mock draft. Eric takes Aiden OConnell and says, I think that he could legitimately be a 4th-round pick to the Las Vegas Raiders. This is Saturday night. Less than 24 hours later, 5th-round pick to the Las Vegas Raiders. Or was it 4th round? I'm sorry.
It was a 4th rounder.
4th round pick to the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sorry that I messed it up. Eric could even prognosticate before it happened better than I can do after the fact. I mean, just absolutely incredible. Got to give that man his flowers for that one. That's an absolutely incredible shot in the dark that actually just hit. So have to shout that one out here while we're here. And then I'm going to go into the last couple of picks here, blowing through them. Take Dwayne McBride.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. I like Dwayne McBride. I was looking at him as well, but I leaned away just because 7th round running back, and who cares? I'm going to take a 7th rounder though, and I'm going to take Zach Kuntz and take the Old Dominion tight end who had the perfect 10 RAS score, transferred from Penn State, so he had the pedigree and the talent to go to Penn State, but did end up playing at Old Dominion. And it's more of a long-term play than anything. Just, they do have CJ Uzama along with Tyler Conklin, but there is that path for him to develop and grow and kind of adapt to that NFL speed. And maybe in a couple of years, he is on the field.
I'm going to take the guy who was not initially released as a tight end, but was a wide receiver in college. Elijah Higgins is now a tight end, was called out as a tight end in the NFL draft. Elijah Higgins, the Miami Dolphins, I know they haven't used the tight end very well in that system, but hopefully the fact that he's a wide receiver and not a tight end actually makes Mike Daniels know how to use him, and then he can actually just use a wide receiver instead of a tight end. So Elijah Higgins is going to be he's not going to be a tight end in sleeper. No, let's go back over to wide receiver and actually get him in the system. Elijah Higgins, the Miami Dolphins,
there it is.
410.
And all right, last pick.
Got to make it a good one, man.
Got to make it good. Got to make it spicy. I mean, Trey Tucker being taken over Tyler Scott, that's just brutal. I don't really care that Charlie Jones is replacing Trenton Irwin. Maybe I do. Maybe I should. Yeah, you know what? I am going to take Justin Shorter. Wide receiver out of Florida, went to Buffalo. And the only justification I have is that he's a wide receiver that is playing for Buffalo. And he was a 5-star prospect, I believe, or high 4-star coming out of high school, has the talent, has the size. That's it.
I thought Sean Clifford was going to be the spiciest pick that I saw today taken, but apparently that's not it. Apparently Justin Shorter
that's
takes
the spiciest take there freaking is. Sean Clifford should not be drafted. I do not care. That was the spiciest take. This is a mock draft. That was a real draft. That was awful.
Awful. Sorry if you're watching this with Beacon, but
love you, Beacon.
Love you, but can't get behind that Sean Clifford take. I can't do that one. I'm going to wrap this one out of here with a guy that was actually drafted, though. I'm going to take the guy who just put a last knife in my heart as the draft ended. And as this draft ends, I'm going to take Kenny McIntosh. Maybe he can take over a little bit of a passing role within that Seattle Seahawks system. And maybe the Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet experience doesn't really coexist. And Kenny McIntosh can take over a little bit. We'll see, but I'm going to round it out with that.
Yeah, we'll dive into some of these tiers. You can kind of see where some of these things are. We'll dive in maneuvering some of our drafts. And then also looking at some things, post draft. I know a lot of us have already had rookie mocks or rookie drafts starting up, or they start up this weekend. So we'll try and get some stuff out there. If you have questions for us with your drafts coming up, reach out to us. You see our Twitters here on the screen with Trophy Chase, TFDR, and Cody Smith, TFDR. So you can find us on Twitter. Comment down below. Again, please like and subscribe and hit us up. Any things you want to touch on here before we wrap out of here, Cody?
No, again, if you want to hear a more in-depth analysis of all of these guys, I mean, we went for an hour here and we went for another hour over on the podcast and the Destination Devy platform, the Overreaction Podcast. Go check that one out over there. And then over here is where you're at. Subscribe to that one over there, though, and then check out that one while you're there. Rate and review both. Do both of those things, and appreciate you for tapping in here and sticking with us for over an hour as we went through a full 4 rounds of mock draft back and forth.
Yes, sir.
Not mock draft, actual draft. Not even mock drafts anymore. I've been too many mock drafts that we've done.
But yeah. And we're just we're getting words. It's late. It's an hour in, and it is what it is. So
we've done 2 mock drafts.
we have so many more to go. So that's pretty much it. Again, comment down below, hit us up. This way we can help you out with your drafts that are coming up and how to maneuver those. So thank you again for joining us here in the Fantasy Draft Room.